I think you have to be very careful when you say that some people don't have to be vaccinated. It's a very tough position. So I'd give you an answer. I'll give you a feeling, but just initially I heard about it yesterday, and it's a tough stance. Look, you have vaccines that work. They just pure and simple work. They're not controversial at all. And I think those vaccines should be used. Otherwise, some people are going to catch it and they endanger other people.
U.S. President Donald Trump has said that Americans should take vaccines that are not controversial, distancing himself from Florida's new policy that removes all vaccine mandates, including those for school children. Trump made the remarks on Friday, September 7th, when asked about the move pushed by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. The comment also comes as Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. faces criticism inside the CDC for his long-standing skepticism of vaccines. Trump emphasized the importance of proven vaccines, saying, "Look, you have some vaccines that are so amazing." He cited the polio vaccine as an example, describing it as groundbreaking, and added that many consider the COVID-19 vaccine to fall in the same category. The president also cautioned against blanket statements that dismiss the need for vaccination. He said, "You have to be very careful when you say some people don't have to be vaccinated. It's a very tough position." Trump underlined that certain vaccines simply work, stressing that when there is no controversy, people should take them to protect themselves and prevent risks to others.
Well, I think we have to be very careful. Look, you have some vaccines that are so amazing. The polio vaccine, I happen to think, is amazing. A lot of people think that COVID is amazing. You know, there are many people that believe strongly in that. But you have some vaccines that are so incredible. And I think you have to be very careful when you say that some people don't have to be vaccinated. It's a very tough position. So I'd give you an answer. I'll give you a feeling. But just initially I heard about it yesterday, and it's a tough stance. Look, you have vaccines that work. They just pure and simple work. They're not controversial at all. And I think those vaccines should be used. Otherwise, some people are going to catch it and they endanger other people. And when you don't have controversy at all, I think people should take it.
Meanwhile, Kennedy, whom Trump has continued to back, has drawn criticism for his actions as health secretary. Kennedy faced a heated Senate Finance Committee hearing on Thursday, where he refused to accept that more than 1 million Americans died from coronavirus.
As the committee gathers today, the United States is in the midst of a health care calamity, the largest cuts to American health care in the history of our nation, and they are approaching like an avalanche. Last week, most of the senior leadership at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention were fired, or they resigned after refusing to bow to Robert Kennedy's unceasing crusade against vaccines. I traveled across Oregon last month, and the message was the same from one end of the state to the other. Families are confused. They're scared about who to trust about their health care. Robert Kennedy and Donald Trump have done so much to feed that mistrust. This morning, my staff, in partnership with Senator Alsobrooks' team, is releasing a report that shows the disaster of Robert Kennedy's 203 days in office. Every single day, there's been an action that endangers the health and wellness of American families. Robert Kennedy has elevated conspiracy theorists, crackpots, and grifters to make life or death decisions about the health care of the American people. Robert Kennedy's tenure is so far marked by 3 calling cards. One is chaos at federal health agencies, leaving families, doctors, and the entire nation confused and frightened. Corruption that benefits Robert Kennedy, Donald Trump, and their friends at the expense of taxpayers, and higher health costs for families. I ask unanimous consent, Mr. Chairman, to enter this report into the record.
Without objection.
Then there's chaos. It's been obvious from the start that Robert Kennedy's primary interest is to take vaccines away from Americans. During his confirmation process, he claimed to be pro-safety and pro-science, but his actions reveal a steadfast commitment to elevating junk science and fringe conspiracies. His agenda has not been about choices and information for families. Just last week, he threatened doctors that deviated from the new anti-science vaccine guidelines he released that make it harder for pregnant women and children to get the COVID vaccine. And then there's corruption. Robert Kennedy's bizarre statements and actions beg the question, why? Democrats on this committee answered that question months ago. Robert Kennedy can enrich himself and his allies. His family still stands to gain from class action lawsuits against vaccine makers. Now, Robert Kennedy fired every member, every single one of the group responsible for making vaccine recommendations to doctors across the country under the false pretense of conflicts of interest. Meanwhile, many of the new members of the panel are outright vaccine deniers who've appeared as paid witnesses in lawsuits against vaccine makers. Their conflicts of interest and ethics disclosures remain hidden under lock and key. On top of all this bedlam in American healthcare, just 2 months ago, Donald Trump signed into law the largest healthcare cuts in American history to pay for tax breaks for the wealthiest people and massive corporations in our country. Republicans know these cuts are going to hit communities like a wrecking ball. That's why they pushed the most severe cuts until after the election. That's why their members already introduced bills to roll back some of the cuts. Make no mistake, though, those cuts are being felt right now. We're seeing hospitals in Idaho cutting payments, hospitals and nursing homes. Providence Seaside Hospital in Oregon announced they're shutting down their labor and delivery unit. Every family is going to feel the burden of Trump care in America. Premiums are going to spike next year, especially for those who buy health insurance on their own, but the effects will be felt by those who get insurance also through an employer. Congress has an opportunity to extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits that lower the cost of premiums. Democrats are ready to pass an extension that stops a dramatic premium spike that would force many families to pay double what they do today. Instead of finding ways to help American families pay less for health care, Robert Kennedy is focused on his anti-vaccine mission, fueled by some kind of complex that the consequences be damned. Amid this litany of corruption and chaos, the one point I have to underline is Robert Kennedy puts children in harm's way every single day in America. To my Republican colleagues, I must ask, what line must Robert Kennedy cross before some of you will also join this alarm? This weekend, under the cover of darkness, Robert Kennedy attempted to disappear hundreds of children under his care at Office of Refugee Resettlement facilities. These children here without parents or family were rounded up in the middle of the night and put on planes to Guatemala. Lawyers on the ground described unthinkable scenes. Our staff, some who are here today, were party to this in the middle of the night, and one child said to their lawyer, "Why do they want to send me back? My mom is dead, and my dad abuses me. Why do they want to hurt me?" This was an actual conversation. These actions were illegal. Documents show that many of these children were in the country to escape trafficking in their homeland. Mr. Kennedy calls himself a protector of children. Some kind of rich claiming from somebody who's flown on Jeffrey Epstein's private jet on multiple occasions. I don't think Robert Kennedy should be within a million miles of this job. Republicans on the committee had a chance to prevent the public health train wreck that Mr. Kennedy has engineered. Everyone voted for him. It is in the country's best interest that Robert Kennedy step down, and if he doesn't, Donald Trump should fire him before more people are hurt by his reckless disregard for science and the truth. I also would like to note Senator Cantwell has joined us in this effort. I hope, at the very least, Robert Kennedy has the decency to tell the truth this morning. Mr. Chairman, I have a procedural request I'd like to make at this time. It's a short one.
Proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, it's unfortunate that I have to say this, But this is a witness who has lied to members of the Senate Finance Committee. In response to over 35 written questions, including from me, he said, and I quote, that he would do nothing as HHS Secretary that makes it difficult or discourages people from taking vaccines. That was clearly not true. His unprecedented unilateral actions to restrict access to COVID vaccines, that alone proves it. He tried to fire the Senate-approved CDC director after she chose the truth over what I consider his delusions. His prepared testimony even today includes the debunked lie that 500,000 children disappeared under the Biden administration's watch, a lie that the Trump administration is using as a pretext to hunt immigrant children and their families. So, my request, Mr. Chairman, and I think it is unfortunate that I have to do this, but given the unprecedented nature of the witness's behavior, I would ask now that the committee formally swear in Robert Kennedy as a witness.